Hello. So today we're going to talk about DaVinci Resolve 18 and the interface. So we'll get straight into it. So typically we have a menu bar across the top. So things like the actual about DaVinci Resolve, preferences and so on, new projects for the file, edit, trim, the typical sort of menus from the root menus. But we're more interested in the contents of the actual panels here. So to start with, at the bottom there are 7 icons. Okay, starting with this media one here, and we go through all the way to the end to one that looks like a rocket, which is how to deliver the product or the final video render, okay, or the final rendered video. So let's look at the very first one. Okay, so the first one is all about media. So this is where you import your footage, your audio, images, and graphics, and GIFs and stuff. So this is where you sort of like accumulate all of your media. And if we hover the mouse over the top of them, okay, and move around, we can see that the clips go through. Not audio. Okay. And if we click on one of these clips, we can see some data, some metadata. Okay. So metadata is basically information about the data. So importantly, we can see things like any codecs that we use, like 264, and frames per second, and particularly the size. Okay, so this is 2160, and this one here is 1080 and 264. Okay, now 265 is getting more common, but you need a better computer for that. So this is a compression actually. So this is how it's compressed, like a JPEG is compressed from a raw another image. All right. So, and what else have we got on the screen here? We have across the very top here, we have some more menu items. The media storage. So we can see that my desktop location, my movie storage here, my hard drive here, which I can expand and I can see various things on my computer. We've got the clone tool. If we go across to the right hand side here, we've got audio. So if we click on audio, you can see like, so if I go to this one here, and let's move this forward a little bit. If I drag this forward, you can see the lines going into the red. They're quite loud. Okay. And then particularly here, inspector, and we'll talk about that more in a minute, and the metadata. So I leave open the audio and the metadata. Metadata is quite good. Frame per second, size, and what codec. Okay. Right. Go back down to the bottom again. The next tab across, we've got cut. So I suppose the equivalent to cut will be edit in Premiere. All right. So, or partially edit. So this is where we're going to bring in some of the tracks, some of the footage, chop it up a bit, and preview it. I'm dragging around with the mouse now on the timeline here. All right, at the top. Okay, I can notice the little red bar here doesn't move. I'm actually dragging the clip. Okay. This little thing here is a little jog wheel. Okay, I'm basically holding the mouse down here and dragging from left to right. Now, probably like most people with DaVinci Resolve, I can't afford all of these amazing keyboards and gadgets and 400 screens and all sorts of stuff. I just have one laptop, one screen, my mouse and my keyboard. So, which I assume most of us do have in the real world. So I'm just clicking and drag. Okay. There are plenty of options here. I mean, you're actually looking at the top right hand side here, top left hand side here, the media pool. So I can close this. I'll drag this down actually. The sync bin, transitions, titles, and effects. That's the media pool. So there's plenty there. Okay. So I can take slices out of the footage and then drag them down into the timeline below. So this is the cut tab. All right. Next one we're going to look at is the edit one. All right. So edit is where we start to actually do some stuff and build the story of all the clips and stuff. So as a quick fly through this, okay, on the left hand side here, this is the source. All right, there's nothing there at the moment, but this is the source. If I go to the media pool and double click on the source, okay, so I've double clicked on the actual source file for this, close the media pool. This is the source, and on the right hand side is the program monitor. So what you're looking at here on the right hand side is a clip or a section taken from the source on the left hand side. Okay, so that bit on the right hand side, so there's two dots here, is what you can see on the right hand side. And then I drag this down to the bottom here, okay, on the timeline. Now from here we can see on the top left, we can click on media pool to see what media we've got. We can add effects here, indexes, sound library, possibly if you want to do that at this point here. Okay. What else we got here? So we've got the little jog. It's just as easy to grab the little bar here and just drag it from left to right. Probably easier actually. I have a feeling this ties into a gadget you can buy, like a little wheel or something, which is probably quite good if you can afford that sort of stuff. What else have we got here? We've got metadata, mixer, bottom right hand corner mixer appeared, so levels, as in sound levels, and an inspector. Now the inspector you will spend a lot of time in, so this is now to do with things like zoom in footage. So if I zoom in here, I'm going to click and hold the mouse over the top of these numbers and then drag left to right. So I can zoom in and I can zoom out. And we've got things like position. So if I zoom out, I can use the position and move it to the left maybe. I can rotate the clip. And the way. Pitch and yaw. Wow, that's interesting. Or and yaw, look at the jaw, yaw and jaw. And what else have we got? We can flip horizontal and vertically, and we can crop. And we can scroll down here. A lot of your effects will end up in here, like stabilization, okay, lens correction, retime and scaling is a tutorial all on its own actually, to do with retime and scaling and how the best settings when the footage is a little bit slower than what you expect between frames. And then if we come down to the middle of the screen below the program monitor here, we've got the typical, everybody knows what they are, buttons because they're on our remote controls for a TV. We have a pointer, we have some cutting tools like a razor blade and so on. We have some inserting clips and stuff. This little magnet thing here, worth mentioning. So the magnet's highlighted and you can see it stands out white. So if I drag this forward to the end, and watch how it pings to the end. Pink. Now if I turn off that magnet, I can drag it to the end. Okay, so this is clipping. Okay, we've got this linking and some markers and flags. When you've got like video footage everywhere and audio and everything else, it's quite handy to stick on markers and stuff where you want to put maybe a transition or an effect or something's going to change at that point, or to mark something for whatever reason. And the next one is about looking at the timeline and sections and well, you can see dragging them around and something happen. Okay. Another really handy thing to note here is top left hand corner. Okay, here it says 41%. This is what I'm actually looking at on this screen here. Okay, if I go back to zoom on the right hand side, if I double click zoom, double click position, double click rotation angle, double click anchor point, double click pitch, and double click yaw, it resets the footage back as it was. Okay, so resetting it is double clicking everything. All right. Now it says here on the top left hand corner 41%. Now if I go 6.25%, 100% or fit. Okay, now why would you want this smaller than the actual screen? Okay, so say 50%, well, maybe even 50 actually, 25%. Well, sometimes you might want to do a mask, which is drawing a polygon around an object, which is going to come onto the screen. And you may have to draw your polygon off screen. Okay, so as the frames go through, then it comes onto the screen or onto the viewable area. So that's what we may want to zoom out. All right, and to zoom in could be to do with color correction. You want to change some color, you want to see a finer detail, you want to see the focus is correct, and so on. What else we got here is okay, to activate things like transform on the center line left. If I click transform, I get transform controls appear. I can drag on the screen. Okay. If I use the drop down, I got crop. I can bring it in and crop. Okay. So I can do it from here. Now you may notice on the right hand side it says cropping. So as I drag this in, okay, you notice that this changes here as well. So I can do it from 2 points. So I don't actually need the inspector open. And to deactivate it, just click it and it's gone. Now there is something to note here. Why would I use the inspector over this tool here? Okay, I'm just going to just reset this. Okay, and the other thing I did was the transform, okay, which is up here, and I think probably here. Why would I use the inspector over the transform control down here? On the right hand side of, say, cropping, for example, there's little dots here appear. These are for keyframing. So I might want something to change on the screen over time, and I want to put a keyframe in there, which is kind of like locking a change into the video clip, and then maybe move forward, say 100 frames, creating another keyframe, and then creating a change between these 2 points. Okay. What else we got on this screen? Of use, metadata mixer, so on. Right, that should do for this one here. Let's go to the next one. So the next one is called Fusion. Now, baffles quite a lot of people, this. And me too, because it took me a bit to get my head around it. So my background is Premiere, which means, and Photoshop and Illustrator and so on, which means that I like layers. So I would have, say, an image or a clip or whatever right on the bottom of the stack. And then on top of that layer, I would put, say, maybe some, a transparency layer or an opacity layer. I'll maybe change some color or some sharpness, and I'll build up layers. I'll maybe create a text layer, maybe all sorts of things. Okay, some masking layers, maybe add some other images in there, a bit of opacity, some blending, and so on. Now, this is layers, and I suppose if they were sheets of paper on a table, they'd be one on top of the other, and you would look down through the paper. Now, this is using something called nodes. On the left-hand side here, we've got media in, and on the right-hand side, we've got media out. And in between the two, we have a line, and it travels from left to right. Now, as the media comes in and comes out the other side, we're going to apply changes to it. And these changes would be an extra node on this line. So, for example, this very first icon on the toolbar here says background. So if I click background, okay, we've got particular, alter these around slightly. We have got the media in, we've got something called merge, then media out. Now merge, in the true sense of the word, is going to bring several things together to combine. So merge is going to use background one again and media one and put them together. Okay, so this is our background here, and if I just click on the right hand side now in the tools, click on the black, select something a bit awful, bright, okay, and we can reduce the alpha all the way to the, wow, look at that, that's crazy. Okay, so we can see now we've got this background over the top of our media in, and I've made it yellow, and basically I put a bit of alpha on there to make it sort of like transparent and so on. Okay, so what I've done is created something on top. I could also maybe draw a circle. So if I click circle here, so 1, 2, 3, the fourth little panel across here, second icon in, circle. Okay, or in the true sense of the word, ellipse. Okay, even though actually on the screen here it is actually a circle. Right? So I've now got an ellipse here, and it's put the ellipse smack in the middle of the screen here. Okay. On the right hand side here, I've now got some properties of the circle. I can again drag from left to right. This is moving the center, maybe up a bit. Okay, I've got the width and the height. We'll just make that there-ish, and just carry on bring it over to her face, for example. Okay, and then we've got, what else we've got here? What's this do? Let's do box. Doesn't look any different to me. So again, I merged in some background. Over the top of the background, I put an ellipse, which has cut everything away from the background and left just the ellipse. Okay. Now, on the right hand side here, we've got invert or solid. So if I click invert, it's just her face showing. So what about some text? Okay. So third icon in on toolbar here, text. Now I don't want the text with the background. I want it here. Okay. So I'm just going to click on this line here to get rid of it. Drag this to here, and this to here. Okay. I can type some text here. Okay. So now we have some text. Okay. So again, it stacks up. So you can get the idea of what a node actually is. So this again is several million tutorials about the Fusion. So it's quite in depth. It's really good actually. The more you get into it, it's really, really good. Okay, next tab across is an important one. Very likely in the early days, there's two tabs you're going to be really interested in. One is going to be edit. The next one is the next one here, which is called color. Before I do this, I need to just remove some of this stuff here. Bring this back to here. So we're going to go back to color. This is the color tab. Okay. So typically when you load it up, all right, we're going to see your footage in the screen here. Okay. We're going to see some color wheels and lots of little RGB stuff and color boosts and shadows and highlights. So we can alter our image here. So I mean, typically, when you first take your footage from your camera, you're going to correct the colors. Now, correct colors actually, I think, is a misnomer, because what you're actually really doing is going to correct the exposure, the contrast, the highlights, the shadows, and so on. So you would actually be correcting a lot of things, as well as maybe a bit of saturation to bring up the color. So let's have a little look at the temperature. So at the moment this image is very blue, so I can just use my mouse, click in the screen and drag. Whee! Very warm actually. And some, not tint, okay? Play with tint, you'll see what it does. Contrast, whoop, no, faded, shh, that's okay. Yep. If you look at the trees, you can see the change. Okay, so we've got lift, gamma, gain. Okay, I'm going to hover over this little wheel looking thing at the bottom here, from left to right. Okay. And again with the mid. Okay. And offset. I suppose you could actually watch what happens actually. Watch these scopes on the bottom right, the three colours. Okay, it's reducing everything down completely. Right. And then across the bottom here we've got Colour Boost, which is kind of like vibrancy from Premiere and things like Lightroom and stuff. We've got some shadows. Right. Behind her left eye, look at her left eye. Okay. some highlights. Look at maybe the above the tree line. Saturation is the amount of color within the image. The hue. So the hue, I've already done a talk about this. The hue is the origin color of the color that you want to change. So unfortunately, we're looking at an image here. We've got loads of colors in, and if I alter the hue, it's going to change the colors of all the colors, and the results can be unexpected. Okay, so for example, if we go over here, her skin's got a green tint to it, but maybe I wanted that green tint on the grass. Okay, but I don't want it on her face. Okay, now the face has gone very reddish, purplish, reddish, and so on. So the hue is going to change the origin color. So for example, burgundy, the origin color of burgundy is red. So if I change the hue, that red, change the hue of burgundy to blue, it's not going to be burgundy anymore. All right. Now, if I had two colors next to each other, red and say burgundy and say purple, I'm still going to change that hue in both of them. So the effects might be one of the colors are going to change as I want them, the other one not. Okay. So to reset this, double click on hue, double click saturation, double click highlights, double click shadows, we can use on, double click the temperature, double click pivot, contrast. Right, so we're pretty much back. So you can see the difference actually. The difference just temperature made on this screen was quite something. We're trying to correct it and make it look more natural. To the point we're happy that we've got the exposure, our scopes are looking where we want them, our preferences for what we are doing, what I particularly want to happen. Now, one of the things to bear in mind with the working within the color is that we're going to use nodes again. Okay, so this node here represents what you're seeing on the screen now. Now, if I right click anywhere in this screen here, I can go add node, add a corrector. Put this corrector, I drag the connector onto the line, it goes yellow, I let go. With that node selected, I can now apply, say, really extreme. Okay? All right. I've just clicked 0, 1, by the way. I've clicked 0, 1 to turn it off. So I can actually build up the image what I want with multiple nodes. The advantage of using nodes is, I'm going to reset the temperature back, is that I might want to apply an effect or a color preset to it called a LUT. So I'd actually apply it to that node only. Okay. At the top left hand corner here, which says Gallery, LUTs, and Media Pool. If I open LUTs, I've now got a load of LUTs. You've got a few that are inbuilt to Resolve. I just grab the LUT, drag it onto the node, which I added. Close the little LUT window. And here I've got a bit of control over the LUT, so I can turn down the gain a bit. It's not so extreme. Okay. Right, so the color is for working with all the colors and any color effects you want to apply from a LUT. You may buy a LUT somewhere because you particularly have seen a film you particularly like. I want to replicate it. There are a lot of things in here. I mean, just you could spend several hours easily just on this one single tab. Okay, so the next one we've got is a Fairlight. Now, Fairlight is the audio side of things. Okay, I'm going to go back to the Edit tab. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just delete the track, the audio that goes with it. I'm going to open a Media Pool, drag down this Tropical Storm. Okay, all right. Close the Media Pool. Go back to Fairlight. Okay. So now if I drag this through, okay, I'm actually off the clip here, so the clip's actually here. Okay, I can see the levels. All right, so worth actually It's very powerful. I still prefer Adobe Audition. I think some of the sound correction within Adobe Audition is very, very good, and really cleans up some ropey audio. Okay. And then the very last one, which is after all your hard work and time, is the export. Okay. So this one again is nice and straightforward. So along the left hand side, okay, to get started, give your file a name. So I call it test with a typo. And then the location where it's going to go. Okay. So it could go anywhere you want to. All right. I'd say desktop so you can find it straight away. And then as we go down, we go video, render a single clip. All right. Export the audio. And you've got various ways to export it. Personally, I like MP4. Even though I'm on a Mac, I like MP4. And then we've got the size here. Okay. So when you spend the money on the DaVinci Studio, you get many more options for the resolution to export at. And then the frame rate. Now, the frame rate, this frame rate, I haven't built the clip properly yet in here, okay, but this frame rate should actually be sort of like 24, 25 or 30, not 60. Everything else can remain the same. And when you're ready to, you get a good name and you're ready to go through, just add your render queue. It goes on the right hand side here, and then you click render all, and then just wait. Okay. And if you watch the timeline, actually down the bottom here in the middle, you can watch it render frame by frame. And then when it's done, I double click it, open it, listen to it, and see how it's gone. Okay, so the takeaway points from this video is the first tab is your media. Okay, bring in all your video, audio, graphics, photographs, GIFs, Illustrator projects, all sorts of bits and pieces. You can bring it all into here and get it all ready. On the left hand side, we have some bins and stuff. Right hand side, we have some metadata, important that you want to know what you've got. Okay, so you know what frames per second you're working with, and any particular codecs you're working with. Okay, all right. Next tab. Okay, now a lot of people I know of, I've heard of, they tend to skip this one because it's actually easier to go straight to edit. But this one here, we can get clips out of the footage. Do notice actually on the right hand side I've got a level. Okay, so as it goes through, you can see the audio volume. Alright, so it's not peaking over red. Okay, and then we've got the next tab, edit. So this is where you would be chopping and slicing, and you can have some effects here, and you know, little things like even this. When you select a clip, you can just drag the little white thing in the corner. As it gets to that point, it gets darker and darker and darker and fades out. Exactly the same with the audio clip. If I drag the little corner over, it'll play, get quieter and quieter and quieter, and disappear to nothing. Okay. And the next one we've got is the Fusion, and working with all our effects. Our effects would be clicking on the effects at the top left hand corner and looking at all the different types of effects we've got. Okay. So blurs and templates, all sorts of things we can apply in here. Okay, this is a tutorial on its own. And the color, all right, and looking at how we want the final footage to look. All right, I will actually add one thing about the color. I should have said actually, top right hand corner where it says timeline clips, nodes, effects, and lightbox. Click on clips to bring your clips up down here. All right. If you've got more than one clip in there, you may find you're going to apply all different color to all different clips, and it will not be consistent, and they'll look completely like different days of the year. All right. So that's where something called an adjustment layer comes in. So there is actually a quick talk I've talked about adjustment layers, one of the tips, which means that you can alter the properties of the adjustment layer without actually changing the footage at all. All right, and you can apply the adjustment layer over all of your clips at the same time. And then the next one we've got here is the audio. So we can see audio as it plays through, and we can make sure it doesn't peak into the red line. And then finally, we've got the export. MP4 to start with, maybe H.264. I would say H.265 if your camera can do H.265 or your drone. But my experience, and I've got quite a powerful little Mac actually, and it really struggles on 265 and the 10-bit D-Log stuff. When you've got, say, a 2 or 3 minute clip, it kind of like really struggles. All right. Now, I hope this has been useful. It really has been like a really quick tour through the interface, not about how to do all the different tools. I've talked about little things all the way through, all right? But this is how you start, all right? There's similar processes in Premiere where you've got your route through, starting with assembly and then editing and then audio and so on. On your way through, you apply different things to develop your movie or your film or the clips you're trying to produce. All right. So I hope this has been helpful, and thank you very much.